Aloha and good morning, everyone. This is session 2 of the Vision Board Workshop for 2021. I am going to begin by covering just quickly what we discussed in the pre-workshop last week, as well as what we discussed in session 1. So pre-workshop, we covered the 5 habits that we all should do daily. And they were number 1, pray and meditate daily. I did also let everyone know that it is very important to journal while in your secret place, while praying and meditating. If you want more insight on why we should journal, make sure you go back to view that um, session. I will drop the link in the description below. Matthew 6:33 says, seek first his kingdom and righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. So when we seek his kingdom, when we begin our day by seeking him first, he will add peace, he will add joy, he will add so much more to our day than we can ever imagine. So we need to be sure that we start our day with prayer and meditating. Also, we should begin our day by listening to a faith-building message every day. I did post a few of my favorites. Sometimes we decide to wake up and turn the news on to see what the latest and greatest is happening in the world. I strongly suggest that you change that habit and start with a faith-building message. You can do that as you're freshening it up for the day, as you're making your coffee. It doesn't have to be your 1 hour study. It could just be a quick 15, 20, 30-minute faith-building message. Also, be sure to read daily. And while we want to read on what is our goal specific, I encourage everybody to read faith-building messages daily, whether it's a book or directly from the Bible. Also, we want to exercise daily, right? And it doesn't have to be a huge, marathon race every day. Just get your blood flowing, get it, go for a 15, 20-minute walk a day, and then write and review your goals. Now, that's where we're going to focus today. So that is what I covered on the pre-workshop. Week 1, we talked about SMART goals and how to create SMART goals. And we have to remember Proverbs 19:21 says, many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that will prevail. So remember that, right? As we are making goals for ourselves and creating our goal posters or our vision boards or even our vision book, make sure that we are putting him first and seeking his will for our life. But when we do make our goals, make sure that they are SMART, make sure they are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. Again, that was last week's Saturday session, so I'll go ahead and post that link in the description as well, so you can go ahead and review those. Now for today, we're going to talk about writing and reviewing our goals. And I'm going to talk specifically about the 2 tools that I've been using to kind of focus. If you know me, you know that I kind of have a few different pots that I cook in. I have my personal life, right? Because we all have a personal life. I also have the job. If you don't know what that is, that means the just over broke, teasing. So that's the job, right? The 9 to 5 you have to go to. So I still have one of those, although God has placed in my heart to, step into ministry full time. Um, right now I have to do the job. So, I have that pot. I also have the church that I'm a part of, my covering church, Riverside Community Church. And then I have my ministry that he's led me to build, my teaching ministry that he's led me to build. Um, so balancing everything and keeping track of everything may seem overwhelming. For me, I use 2 specific tools. I use the weekly plan sheet and the 6 most important things list. So I'll go into detail about those 2 tools and show you how I particularly use them. I know these are tools that you may have seen before, but I just want to show you how I use them, right? But before I do, everything needs to turn back to him. Habakkuk chapter 2, verses 2 and 3 says, write the vision, make it plain on tablets, so he may run who reads it. For still the vision awaits its appointed time. It hastens to the end. It will not lie. If it seems slow, wait for it. It will surely come. It will not delay. All right. So let's get into the weekly plan sheet. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you because I do want you to um, look through, watch this, follow along with me with the weekly plan sheet as we go. So let's go ahead and there we go. So this is the weekly plan sheet I use. Now you may have seen a few different versions. For me, my week begins on a Monday, my week ends on a Sunday. Some people like to plan Sunday through Saturday, whatever you use. This is my weekly plan sheet that I use. And if you would like this one, feel free to reach out to me and I will send that to you. My email is office@leanastewart.com. And if you're watching this and you have any questions, even if you're watching it after the fact, feel free to drop them below and I'll reach back out to you and respond, via YouTube. So one thing I do want to say is, so I have the weekly plan sheet, but I also have my planner. And yes, I do also use a digital copy, and we'll talk more about that later. But I like the old-fashioned paper copy because I don't always have my electronics with me. Sometimes my phone dies. So I want to be sure that I have something that will last. So I'm gonna refer to that a couple of times throughout this lesson. So this is the weekly plan sheet that I do use, and actually the website is right here, www.thestudenthandouts.com. This is the one I do use. So how I use my weekly plan sheet, right here. First thing we need to do is to kind of map out our week. I always begin with the enter them by order of shiftability, right? I've told we've discussed about how I have the job and I have to work the job, and it supports the family and supports me building the ministry that God has led me to, and also helps me do life. So I first put in my Workday, which is here. You'll see in purple. Making sure I color code. And then I enter in my Jesus time, which is my either time that I need to spend at the church, or it's also going to be time that I spend in his presence, my secret place time. And we talked about that, the pray and meditating. In addition to that, you have here, you see these little boxes of pink, right? Again, we're color coding this. The boxes of pink are my magical vacation planner trainings or meetings that I may have, or times that I plan to work on those. And then you have the times in green, like here, the vision board workshop for today. And I had planned to attend a Jumpstart program earlier this week. And make sure if you have personal, appointments, like I supported my daughter, who's a cosmetologist here in Maryland, and I modeled for her as a lash lift and tints model. So, put your personal appointments in here. So you want to make sure, again, that you start by entering it by the shiftability. What's the most important? What can't you move? And for me, it's work. I work 7 to 3:30 Monday through Friday. And then I go next, the church events that I have to attend or that I desire to attend, and put in my Jesus time, because for me, that is the second most important. It's actually the first most important thing, but I can plug in most of my Jesus time to where, I don't have to be cut off because of work and whatnot. So then I plug in my other things, that my other parts of life. I make sure I color code. Now, when I say I color code, this isn't just here for the weekly plan sheet. The color coding also does transfer to my planner and also to my Google Calendar. So I use the exact same color coding system in the Google Calendar that I do here on my weekly plan sheet. That way there's a consistency and continuity to it. So once I do that, I highlight as the days go by. So you see here in Monday, what happened was the dog woke me up really early. So I actually ended up doing my Jesus time super early in the morning, as you see here. I ended up going to work, and at the normal time about. So I highlighted here that I did some Jesus time prior, and then I worked, right? And then what some of you may know about me is I actually have a health condition that sometimes flares up and I have to deal with. So in this empty space that I had here, I did actually, rest. So I put that in here. I make those notes in here of what I do, even if it's not what I plan to do. And then back here, we had made some adjustments to my time because, after I had done the church things I needed to do for the church, I then, entered some YouTube training here. And then I was in bed much, much earlier than I had planned, again, because of my personal health condition. So what I'm saying is as you're going through the week, you have it blocked out by color coding, right? And then as you go through your day, I go ahead and I highlight the shades so I can see what was supposed to be there, but I also see what I did. So again, I highlight as I complete the items. So it forces me to go back and look and review my day. Maybe I just got off track because I ended up wanting to play with the dogs, which is okay because you have to make sure that you're enjoying life, right? He wants us to enjoy the life that he gives us. So if you're whatever took you off track, make sure you include it so you see where your time is going at the end of the week. And then, do that in a day recap. I also continue this through the entire week. So I do an end of week recap as well. And you'll see here, on Tuesday, I worked only a little bit of time. I also, again, got woken up by the dog. But because of something that came up at church that needed my attention, I ended up taking off of work and then spending all this day at work. So I did miss a few things here, but this, I'm going to leave it here and I'm not taking it out because I want to remember what I initially allocated that time for. And with these trainings, these were actually trainings for my travel company. With these trainings, I can actually make them up. They get recorded so I can go back and watch them. So this also helps me to keep track of training that I need to catch up on. And then when we came home at night, normally I do my Jesus time, but I ended up watching War Room with hubby. So I went ahead and put that in here because I want to know why I didn't do my Jesus time. Again, my priority is my faith and my work, but also I have to, we have to honor our marriage and our relationships in our lives and make sure that we make time for that. And when times come up, don't always push them aside because you have to work or because you have this goal you have to meet. You want to make sure that your goals kind of encompass your family in them, right? And so I continue through the end of the week. And as you see, some things happen, some things didn't happen, and that is okay. You have to remember that life will happen. Do not beat yourself up if you do not make everything happen and everything doesn't go exactly as planned. It is okay. Now, the one thing I want to point out here on the bottom here, I'm keeping the mileage. That's something I wasn't very good at last year, but I want to make good at this year. The mileage to the church because we volunteer at the church, my husband and I, in different capacities. We do spend time going to the church on days that we normally wouldn't be there. For example, we normally would be there on Sundays, so we don't include that time because that's normally when we would go. But due to our roles and responsibilities, we do end up at the church additional days throughout the week. So that's mileage that we can account for because that is sort of like donating that time. Now, what do I do with this weekly plan sheet? I keep the weekly plan sheet, do the end of the day recap daily. I do an end of the week recap, and then I take this weekly plan sheet and I keep it in my planner. Because what happens is at the end of the month, when I don't reach my goals, when I see that I haven't hit whatever goals I've set for the month to reach that yearly goal, to reach that life goal, I'm like, okay, what's the problem here? And if it's a health issue, if it's a faith not gonna say faith issue, but if, something with that was high priority that could not be shifted came up and, kind of bumped your schedule around, that's understandable. That's you just have to ask God to help kind of smooth and straighten that out in the end. But at the same time, if you're seeing that, you got distracted because you wanted to play with the dogs and then somebody called and you ended up on the phone for 3 hours with them and then something else happened, you want to make sure that you look at your calendar weekly, monthly, and you take charge of your schedule, with keeping your goals and your vision, the vision that God has given you in mind, um, because we can easily be distracted by life. We can be distracted by kids, families, even our 9 to 5 jobs. Um, they sometimes take over the rest of our days and the rest of our week. So we need to make sure that we set healthy boundaries for people, for subjects, and for other things so that we are meeting the goals that Abba has set for us. So that is how I use my weekly plan sheet. I'm going to stop sharing for now. And if anybody, again, if you have any questions, comments, or whatnot, just drop them here if you're live. And then if you're watching later on, feel free to drop them downstairs, underneath, and I will reach out to you. So weekly plan sheet is a non-negotiable that I do every week. And I normally start off by on Sunday evenings, kind of mapping my whole week out. And this system may not be one that works for you. You may want to do it just digitally. But I'm sharing what works for me to kind of to manage the chaos, to manage all the different things that I have going on at the same time. So that is one tool that God has given me, that God has introduced me to, that I use. The other thing is the 6 most important things list. Now, this one I actually discovered when I was in Mary Kay as a Mary Kay consultant. Actually, I still technically am because I love the products, but I learned this from reading Miracles Happen by Mary Kay Ash. It's actually her autobiography that every consultant gets, and it's a phenomenal book. So even if you're not into makeup or not into direct sales, it's a really good book to read. I'll post a link to that below, but it's Miracles Happen by Mary Kay Ash. And from that book, she shares the story of Charles Schwab and how she was introduced to the 6 most important things list. And yes, Mary Kay was a real person. So here's a story of the 6 most important things list. Early in my sales career, I heard a story that was to have a lasting effect upon me and the way I work. The subject was time management, and the story concerned Ivy Lee, a leading efficiency expert, and Charles Schwab, president of a then small company called Bethlehem Steel. Ivy Lee called on Charles Schwab and asked him, "I can increase your efficiency and your sales if you allow me to spend 15 minutes with each of your executives." Naturally, Schwab asked, "How much will it cost me?" "Nothing," Lee said, "unless it works. In 3 months, you can send me a check for whatever you think is worth it to you. Fair enough?" Schwab agreed. So Lee spent 15 minutes with each executive from the struggling young steel company and asked them to complete a single task. Every evening for the next 3 months, each executive was to make a list of the 6 most important things he had to do the next day. Finally, the executive was to rank these items in order of importance. Each morning, beginning with the first item on the list, she told them, "And scratch it when it's finished. Just work your way right down those 6 items. If you don't get something finished, it goes to the next day's list." At the end of the 3-month trial, efficiency and sales had increased to such an extent that Schwab sent Lee a check for $35,000. Now, that's still a lot of cash for a small amount of work in today's money. Now, this book was written over a decade ago. In today's money, $35,000 would probably be equivalent to $350,000. I was very impressed with the story. I thought if Such a list was worth $35,000 to Charles Schwab. It was worth $35 to me. So I pondered the moral. I took an envelope out of our purse and wrote down the 6 most important things list I had to do the next day. And I continued making that $35,000 list every single day of my life. Now, for those that don't know, Mary Kay Ash did start the Mary Kay Company. It is to this day a debt-free company. And this 6 most important things list is taught to all of the sales consultants. And some of them choose to do it, some of them choose not to do it. A lot of them you'll find get all excited and do it for the start, and then they trickle off. Now, just as with your weekly plan sheet, we need to begin first by seeking his wisdom and seek his guidance. Proverbs 16:3 says, commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your path. We need to be sure that we are including, and not just including him and inviting him in, but we are seeking his will for our lives and our businesses and our careers and our goals. The first most important thing about setting our goals, right, is making sure that we are going after the will and the goals that he wants for our lives. So with the 6 most important things list, I'm going to show you mine. And again, so I have, technical difficulties here. So I have, and I use multiple 6 most important things list. So I've got like an 18 most important things list. Not really, but I have one that is, so I do one for my personal, to try to get, make sure I get what needs to get done. And then I do one for my my ministry on what I need to do here. And then I also do one for my travel. Now, I don't always do 6 there because it's not something I do full time or I want to pursue full time at this point, because Abba has given me the vision and direction to focus on building the teaching, building the ministry. So that is number 1, to make sure that those are done along with the personal. So I have those shared here. And you see, I literally in my planner, when I purchase my yearly planners, I make sure that there is room in my planner to write down my 6 most important things list. And then as I get them done, I check them off. So I literally go down and check it off. Now, you might be a digital person. You can do this in your phone. You can do this on your iPad. But all that matters is that you do them. And look at the list daily. When you check one off, go to the next one, and don't delete it. Like, if you have a digital way of keeping track of your 6 most important things list, it is important for you to see what you have accomplished, to visually see what you have accomplished at the end of the day. So say that this was task 1, to create this video on why you're going to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Don't remove this from your digital list. This is why I really like to pick up pen and paper copy, so I can go back and reflect. But check it off, or put it in a different color, or separate it to a different area, so you're able to go back and see what you did. So if by chance life happens and you don't get to, complete all 6 things, and you maybe only get to finish 4, you're not left with just a list of 2 things to do. You get to visualize and see the 4 things that you have done. And this for me I found a very important tool. I actually also do it with work. I have a whole spreadsheet of things I need to get done. And first thing I do every morning is I look through my emails, and then I create my 6 most important things list for work. And those are the things that need my focus, need my attention right now, that have to get done first and foremost. I work in a very busy government agency. And there's just so much things coming our way. And if we don't make those lists and check them off, we can easily get distracted. So Reviewing weekly plan sheet. Make sure when you use a weekly plan sheet, make sure that you begin by first inputting things that are not shiftable. Make sure that you color code your plan for the week between each different type of area of your life. And then also go through and highlight it. Do a daily review, do a weekly review, and save your weekly plan sheet so you can do a monthly review of that. Also, daily, you want to make sure that you do your 6 most important things list. So within those color codings, you may not have 5 or 6 different color codings. You may just have 2 or 3. But within the important ones that have income producing activities, make sure that you have a 6 most important things list and do those diligently. And don't beat yourself up. If something happens that may take you off your path, that you may not be able to finish everything that you have planned, remember Proverbs 19:21 says, we make the plans. The plans, many are the plans in a person's heart, but the Lord's purpose will prevail. So his purpose will prevail as long as you are correctly aligned with him. So I thank everyone who's attending in person, and I thank everyone who's watching after the fact. If you found value in this, I encourage you to hit the like button. If you found great value in this, I encourage you to share. And as always, the best way to support me and my ministry is to continually pray for me and pray for God's hands within everything else. And I thank you all. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Mahalo and God bless. Love you all.